Good morning. I want to welcome everyone who made it here and didn't let the threat of icy roads keep you away. And I certainly want to welcome all those who are joining us today online. Welcome to you all. I don't know where to look, but my name is Beth Andes, and it is my great pleasure to welcome you to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church. In case you're wondering, the flight to Phoenix is down the hall, okay? All right. So are there any out there that have brought visitors with you, or any visitors who feel brave enough to stand up, tell us your name and where you're from so we can say hello? Yes, sir. Awesome. Welcome. Any other visitors? If not, I welcome all of you to this wonderful service of music that celebrates love and life.
If you wake up tomorrow and the sun does not appear, I will be here. If in the dark we lose sight of love, have no fear and hold my hand. I will be here. I will be here when you feel like being quiet. When you need to speak your mind, I will listen. When the laughter turns to crying, I will be here. Through all the winning, losing, and trying, I will be here. If you wake up tomorrow morning and the sun does not appear, I will be here.
These words about unconditional love from Stephen Curtis Chapman set the tone for our St. Valentine's Day celebration this morning.
Today we celebrate love. We celebrate the many kinds of love that we share with others. In addition to romantic love, there's a love we hold for our children, our parents, our brothers and sisters, our friends, our pets, and yes, even a stranger in need.
We celebrate love not only as a feeling, but as a choice. How do we choose to love one another? Choosing to love means staying committed to another through all of life's up and downs. And it can also mean letting go of another who chooses a different path.
Sometimes loving ourselves means letting go of a relationship that isn't healthy for us. Sometimes it means honoring the memory of a loved one lost to death. Choosing to love can mean reaching out in social justice work to help someone in need. When you children and youth stand up for someone who's being teased or bullied or left out because they're different in some way, you are choosing to stand on the side of love.
Whatever our current life circumstance, we find ways to reach out to others in love. For love is a powerful, universal force in our lives.
This morning, we welcome each one of you with compassion and love to our All Souls community. You don't have to do anything to earn this love. You don't have to be smarter, braver, stronger, or any better than you are right now.
All you have to do is to bring all that you are, all that you hold dear, and all that you love to this moment in time.
We light our chalice to celebrate the light of love that each of you brings into our All Souls community.
Good morning. My name is Sierra, and I light this chalice for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
Thank you, Sierra. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in our words of covenant and our opening song. Goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I have a story for you children this morning, so would our children and youth come joining me on the floor, please? So nice to see all of you here this morning. And the title of the story that I'm going to tell you is called Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch. And the pictures will be up on the screen on the wall, so you can look at the pictures while I read the story. Mr. Hatch was tall and thin, and he never smiled. Every morning at 6:30 sharp, he would leave his brick house and walk 8 blocks to the shoelace factory where he worked. At lunchtime, he would sit alone in a corner, eat his cheese and mustard sandwich, and drink a cup of coffee. After work, he would make 2 stops, at the newsstand to get the paper, and at the grocery store to buy a fresh turkey wing for his supper. After supper, he read the paper, took his shower, and went to bed early. He keeps to himself. That's what everyone said about Mr. Hatch. One Saturday, when Mr. Hatch stepped on his porch, he got a surprise, a package wrapped in brown paper. He had never spoken to the postman before. "Thank you, Mr. Goober," he said. Mr. Hatch tore the brown paper off. Inside was a heart-shaped box filled with candy, and with it was a little white card that said, "Somebody loves you." Only then did he remember that this was Valentine's Day. Mr. Hatch wondered and wondered. Now, who would send this to me? He was all alone. He had no friends. And yet someone had sent him a valentine. Who? As he was doing his dusting, the dust cloth seemed to whisper, "Somebody loves you. Somebody loves you." At last he flung the dust cloth away and said, "Why, I've got a secret admirer." And then he did something he had never done before. He laughed and danced and clapped his hands. And then he took a piece of candy and ate it. Mr. Hatch found some old aftershave in the bottom drawer. He splashed it on his face. He picked out a yellow tie with polka dots and put it on. And then he went for a walk. Maybe, he thought, I'll meet the person who sent me the candy. Of course, no one had ever seen Mr. Hatch wearing a tie or smelling of aftershave or smiling. So he got a lot of attention. Mrs. Weed tripped over her dog. Mr. Dunwoody nearly fell off his ladder. And little Tina Finn spilled all the toys out of her wagon. Mr. Hatch just waved hello to all of them. On Monday, it was back to work. At lunchtime, Mr. Hatch sat in the middle of the cafeteria. He spoke to everyone and passed out chocolates from his heart box. On the way home, as usual, he stopped at the newsstand. He smiled at Mr. Smith and said, "If you don't mind my saying so, Mr. Smith, you don't look very well today." Mr. Smith replied, "I have a bad cold. I was supposed to go to the doctor this afternoon, but the stand's been so busy I haven't had the time." So Mr. Hatch volunteered to watch the newsstand while Mr. Smith went to the doctor. When Mr. Smith returned, Mr. Hatch made his usual stop at the grocery store. "You look worried," Mr. Hatch said to Mr. Todd. "I am," said Mr. Todd. "My little girl's late coming home from school, and I can't leave the store to look for her." "I'll go look for her," said Mr. Hatch. And so he walked to the school and found little Melanie Todd by the swings and brought her home. After supper, Mr. Hatch didn't bother to read the paper. He decided to bake brownies instead. It would be nice to have brownies to share the next day with the people at the shoelace factory. As he baked, the warm chocolate smell of brownies floated through the neighborhood. Children gathered round Mr. Hatch's house, sniffing the air. "Well, I suppose the factory can wait," said Mr. Hatch as he looked out the window. And he brought out 2 platefuls. "Now, what are brownies without lemonade?" he thought, and he stirred up a nice cold pitcher. When the parents came to gather their children, they had some brownies too. It turned out to be a picnic in Mr. Hatch's backyard. He dusted off an old harmonica and played songs he remembered from his childhood, and everyone danced. And so the days and weeks went by. When Mr. Hatch wasn't smiling, he was laughing. And when he wasn't laughing, he was helping someone. And when he wasn't helping someone, he was having a party in his yard. Then one afternoon, Mr. Goober, the postman, came to his door. His face was very serious. "I'm upset," Mr. Goober said. "I made a mistake some time ago. My supervisor is very angry with me. Do you recall the package I delivered to you on Valentine's Day?" "Yes," said Mr. Hatch. "I don't suppose you still have it," said Mr. Goober sadly. "As a matter of fact," said Mr. Hatch, "I still have the box. The candy's gone, though. Why do you ask?" The postman took a deep breath. I'm afraid I delivered it to the wrong address. It was supposed to go to another house. Mr. Hatch recalled tearing off the brown paper. It had never occurred to him to look at the address. He fetched the heart-shaped box and gave it to the postman. He gave the postman the little white card that said, "Somebody loves you. I do hope your supervisor won't be too angry with you now." Alone in his living room, Mr. Hatch sighed. Nobody loved me after all. Then he read his paper, took his shower, and went to bed early. The next morning at 6:30 sharp, Mr. Hatch left his brick house and walked 8 blocks to the shoelace factory. At lunchtime, he sat in a corner by himself, ate his cheese and mustard sandwich, and drank a cup of coffee. After work, he stopped at the newsstand for his newspaper, but he didn't speak to Mr. Smith. And when he ordered the turkey wing from Mr. Todd, he didn't smile. Nor did he pat little Melanie Todd on the head, or bake brownies, or have picnics, or play his old harmonica anymore. Everyone whispered, "What's wrong with Mr. Hatch?" Mr. Goober, the postman, told him what had happened. "We love Mr. Hatch," insisted Mr. and Mrs. Dunwoody. "He gave us flowers for our garden." Mrs. Weed nodded. "I love him too. He saved his bones for my dog Ruffy." Mr. Smith told everyone how Mr. Hatch had watched his newsstand so he could visit the doctor. And Mr. Todd told everyone how Mr. Hatch had found his little girl. All the children in the neighborhood remembered Mr. Hatch's wonderful brownies and lemonade, and most of all, his laughter. "Poor Mr. Hatch," they said. "What can we do?" Then Mr. Goober announced, "I have an idea." On Saturday morning, when Mr. Hatch went out to his porch, he couldn't believe his eyes. All over the porch were red and white hearts. There were boxes of candy on the chairs, and sticking up out of his mailbox was a shining silver harmonica. The front yard was filled with happy, smiling people. They were holding up a huge sign with hand-painted letters, and it said, "Everybody loves Mr. Hatch." Mr. Hatch dabbed at a tear with his handkerchief. "I do believe somebody loves me after all." And then he smiled, and then he laughed, and then he hurried down to be with his friends. How many of you like this story? Isn't it? Thank you. Isn't it amazing how one kind word or one kind act can change someone's life for the better? And I want to thank all of you for your kindness in decorating Valentines with love for everyone in our congregation today. And I'd like to, you made one for your mom too, great. And I'd like to ask you to think about maybe doing one more act of kindness. After the service, some of your Valentines will be on a table in the lobby. And I'm going to invite you to take 1 or 2 Valentines home and talk to your mom or dad or grandma and see if there's some older person who lives alone in your neighborhood, and take them one of those Valentines on Valentine's Day and see if you can make them smile. How many of you would like to do that? Thank you so much. And now we're going to pass out Valentines to our congregation, and the children will be passing a basket. In keeping with our story, you get a Valentine and a chocolate. And when the basket comes to you, take 1 Valentine and 1 chocolate, and the name of the child that decorated your Valentine is on the back of the Valentine. And now we're going to invite our preschoolers to go with their teachers, Sarah and Carrie, and you're going to go give Valentines to all the people in the lobby and in Conover. So if you're in the preschool or kindergarten class, will you go now, please? And then would all of you who are helping with the kindergartners and preschoolers are in the choir will stay here. Then if you're helping to pass out Valentines, will you go find the adult who's helping you, and let's pass out our Valentines now. And happy Valentine's Day to all of you, and know that somebody loves you. Are going to read some love poetry to us. I think they're busy passing out Valentines, but can you come up, please? Here they are.
The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arising at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at each other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You'll love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life.
How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach. When feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace, I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by the sun and candle light. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with the love I seemed to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death.
I will not play tug-of-war. I'd rather play at hug-a-war, where everyone hugs instead of tugs, where everyone giggles and rolls on the rug, where everyone kisses and everyone grins, and everyone cuddles and everyone wins.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often his gold complexion is dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. When in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this and gives life to thee.
Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Lift me like an olive branch and be my homeward dove. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Oh, let me see your beauty when the witnesses are gone. Let me feel you moving like they do in Babylon. Show me slowly what I only know the limits of. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the wedding now. Dance me on and on. Dance me very tenderly and dance me very long. We're both of us beneath the love. We're both of us above. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the children who are asking to be born. Dance me through the curtains that our kisses have outworn. Raise a tent of shelter now, though every thread is torn. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through your panic till I'm gathered safely in. Touch me with your naked hand or touch me with your glove. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the end of love.
Hello, my name is Isaac Robinson, and I'm a member of the Coming of Age program, and I'd just like to give one final hand to the children's choir. Which is the children's choir is the perfect example of what we're asking you to support today. Today's offering will support the music and religious education programs, and I'd like to talk about both of them for a little bit, starting with the music program. First thing I'd like to say about the music program is that I've seen this in myself and other youth, is that it helps them find a new confidence in singing and have a voice to be heard. And just the choir and all the songs have been so special to me that I dragged my parents to come sit at the front row and sit as close as I could to Anthony and Sarah. And I've been to other churches and I've sang in their choirs, and let me tell you that this is such a special experience that you will most likely not find anywhere else, and that's so special to me that I hope someday I actually get to sing with the adult choir. And now I'd like to move on to the religious education program. First thing I'd like to say about that is that it teaches us to become more of a moral and respectable person. And I've gotten to meet a lot of great and nice people of all ages, adult to youth. And last thing about the religious education is that it teaches us, of course, about religion and social justice work so we can walk into the world confidently in our own way. Now, time for the obligatory offertory statement. Please make all checks to All Souls with memo line special offering. All designated checks and all cash will be collected for music and RE.
And now would you repeat with me the words for dedication of the offering? We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create a just and compassionate society.
When I die, I want your hands on my eyes. I want the light and the wheat of your beloved hands to pass their freshness over me once more. I want to feel the softness that changed my destiny. I want you to live while I wait for you asleep. I want your ears still to hear the wind. I want you to sniff the sea's aroma that we loved together, to continue to walk on the sand we walked on. I want what I love to continue to live, and you, whom I love and sang above everything else, to continue to flourish full-flowered, so that you can reach everything my love directs to you, so that my shadow can travel along in your hair, so that everything can learn the reason for my song.
We've begun a tradition here at All Souls of giving Courageous Love Awards to members of our congregation who have served our outreach ministry to help others in our community. This year, we want to present these awards to the women who have served as meal coordinators for the Restart Homeless Shelter for many years. We want to present our first award to Karen Wells. Karen has been serving the Restart Homeless Shelter since they first opened 22 years ago, and she's still serving Restart. She's coordinating getting groups to prepare meals for the homeless. She's planned menus, bought food, cooked meals, and helped serve meals. And Karen has also been instrumental in collecting toiletries and clothing for the homeless. And she's helped to collect mittens for the homeless every year at Christmas time. 22 years, and she's still going strong, serving homeless men and women who are so in need of our help. Karen, we present you with this beautiful red heart to thank you for your courageous love in serving the homeless in our community.
One word from me. No, actually, it won't be one word. It'll be about one sentence. We're starting our 23rd year, and there's plenty of room for all of you to come down with us.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And our next award goes to Diane Cassidy. And Diane has been serving as a meal coordinator for the Restart Homeless Shelter for the past 20 years. She has found groups to serve meals at Restart and then helped them in any way they needed, from planning menus, buying groceries, cooking meals, and helping to serve meals at Restart. Although Diane has been the main coordinator for Restart, her sister Sharon has been right there beside her serving the homeless all of these years. Sharon is in California at the moment. Aren't these Cassidy sisters remarkable in how they serve others? Yes. And our next award goes to Becky O'Connor. Becky has served as a meal coordinator for Restart for the past 4 years. And before that, too. Just recently for the last 4 years. Like Diane, she's coordinated groups in preparing meals for the homeless. She's planned menus, bought groceries, cooked meals, and helped serve meals at Restart. And what a wonderful service you've provided to the homeless, Becky. And so we present you with this beautiful red heart to thank you for your courageous love in serving the homeless in our community. Thank you.
Thank. Okay, I'm going to thank.
No, I'm going to thank everybody.
You will.
Okay.
Everybody who's helped us.
Yeah. I know that so many of you, this is what Karen wants me to say, but I was planning to say it anyway. I know that so many of you have helped the homeless at Restart over the years, either by bringing clothing or mittens or helping to provide the meals. So if you have helped Restart in any way in the past, please stand. Wow. What an incredibly generous and caring congregation we have. And I wish we could give a red heart to each one of you, but you'll have to accept our heartfelt gratitude instead. Thank you so much for helping the homeless in our community who are so in need of our help. And now, please rise in body or spirit and join us in the song, There Are Loyal Hearts. On the street, we two pass. I don't know you. I don't see if you're fat, thin, dark, fair, young or old. If we should pass again within the hour, I wouldn't know it. Yet, I'm committed to love you. You're part of my city, my universe, my being. If you were not here to pass me by, a piece would be missing from my jigsaw puzzle day. Go now in peace, knowing that somebody loves you.